Hey, welcome to Deep Dive, everybody.
Good to be here.
Good to be here. Today, we had student ministry takeover, and I'd like you guys to tell me, what is student ministry takeover?
Basically, these students take over serving in all different areas of the church.
Okay. So what is the emphasis of, or why is it important for NextGen? What's the importance of NextGen in church?
I think that it's important to raise up the children to not just be consumers of church, especially I think in our Western culture, we're so entertaining, and we do activities and things like that with kids when they're young, but then trying to teach them how to take what they're learning and apply it back into service, into church.
Well, and one of the biggest things that you see with, the trends of young people moving out of a faith-based community and moving outside of like being a devoted follower and moving outside of church attendance in general once they say graduate high school, the statistics aren't good with them leaving and then coming back. And so one of the biggest markers for kids that come out of high school and stay plugged into a faith-based community and consistent following is multi-generational tie-ins and multi-generational links within the church, because it's easy for us to move through, as kids move through like from birth to 18 in pockets, and we're always cultivating a specific community for them as they grow and mature, but we never really integrate them in wholly. We're always customizing an area or community for them. Mm-hmm. But it's too easy to have those communities be isolated and not cross-generationally integrated to where it's making a very organic movement. So I think that one of the big things for like the NextGen student ministry takeover would be promoting that multi-generational connection in a more intentional way. And beyond that, it sets up that need of showing adults the heart of these kids to serve and letting them have that exposure, but then also letting the kids see the devotion of these adults who are serving in these areas. And it sets up this mentor-mentee relationship where they can really learn and grow somewhat together. And then, as we saw in the message today with the focus on serving, it's cultivating that attitude of serving as a part of following and discipleship.
Now, making your faith come alive more than just witnessing it on paper or the stories, but hey, this is my faith. I can live it out.
Yes.
I think a lot of times we think of kids as just kids and that they can't do, so like Chris said, letting the adults see what the students can do. I know for me personally, leading Pivot, the kids are getting stuff out of that, but I've gained and grown so much in my own faith by being able to lead them. Mm-hmm. So getting the kids plugged in where they are contributors to the church, and living that servant life it not only helps them grow, but the adults that are showing them the way to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and they want to serve. And I think that as adults, we can get into those spots. Like what I've seen when I've sat in with you guys in Pivot, that's totally blown me away, is like the culture of worship there, of how those kids worship. And I've seen the opposite. I've seen where kids just kind of sit back, almost like you said, the consumer mindset. Like they just kind of sit back and listen to the people on stage singing and do their thing. But it's not like that what I've seen in Pivot. But I know you guys have intentionally worked to create that culture of worship, and the kids want to. So it's easy for us to sit back and say, oh, they're just kids, they're not going to worship. But that's not true. They want to. They just have to be shown, and they have to be developed that way with intention. You guys do that well in Pivot.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime right when we start the hub, and we can hear Pivot singing, and it's one of our goals in the hub is to try to continue that type of worship, but also too remaining that that's how they worship too. Sometimes when we get older, we're surrounded by more peers, and we're like, okay, I don't want to sing out loud because my friend next to me might hear me. So in areas of our lives, we tend to seek recognition or titles. So how can we shift our focus towards serving and others instead, or Jesus? with as Preston said, with the towel. So how do we show more of the towel rather than us trying to be?
Well, it's something that we're working on in Pivot. We have a curriculum that we're using on Sundays that break down like each area of serving. So far we've done hospitality and like welcoming, and then this month we are in like care for the facilities. So those kids are learning the different areas that they can serve and what the Bible and Jesus says about serving. So they're getting at the younger ages, why we need to serve, what Jesus says about serving, and things like that, building that mindset and teaching them those things, that it's not all about just coming and listening on Sunday mornings to what whoever's preaching has to say. There's also other things to do out in the world as far as sharing your faith and serving not only the church, but outside of the church.
So Adeline, when you hear Brandon's perspective on that, what's your perspective when you serve? Like today, you served and played keys. So what does that do for you when you serve?
I feel like in my heart, like it just makes me happy to help serve, because I know it's like it's a good thing, and I feel like I'm helping people and I'm serving, and I can show like God's love through things that I do, or just like giving somebody like a smile and just serving. And it's just a neat thing, because whenever you're worshiping, like you just feel something. And whenever I'm like playing the keys or something, you just feel something, like you're leading worship and you're leading other people worship. So I think it's just a cool feeling to feel. And
yeah,
and I think that's what I was going to say, like what in terms of serving, when you were talking about Preston's towel analogy, like we need to seek the towel, not the title, is what loosely what he had said. And like how you were saying, like helping people, that's the big part of it. I mean, and that grabbing the towel is going to look different in different scenarios and different ways of serving. But when we lead that way and have that adopt that model of servant leadership, we're always looking at how we can help other people, how we can help them grow, how we can help them grow in their faith, develop them, or just meet needs that they need to have met at that time. Any way to help people. And ultimately, like if you look at even outside the church, just in leadership circles, that's what it's about. It's about leading and developing people so that they can get better at what they do and make the whole organization or the whole team better.
that's the thing that I learned, is like it's not just about you, it's about you helping others and you making an impact. And I've seen that, like whenever I've grown up, I used to think church was you just come on Sunday, but you need to, like, now that I've gotten older, I learned that like you apply it and you help others by what you learn, and you can help them grow in their faith too.
Yeah, I would say someone may be interested in serving or thinking like, hey, I am in the youth, I'm scared to serve, but seeing her on stage doing it may give them also the confidence to be like, hey, I can, that's something I'm interested in. I can do that. So
absolutely. How can we evaluate our lives to prioritize service over status? As Preston said, who do I serve and where do I serve, or how do I serve? So with you chose music and worship, and you chose with the Pivot and helping there, and I chose with worship and hub worship. So if we had a message to tell those who kind of on the fence of like, how do I go? What would be some pointers that we could tell them to, hey, it's okay. Let's serve together.
Well, I think that one thing that Preston hit on in the message that we didn't have a lot of time to go deeply into was the fact that we're all created by God. We're designed for a purpose. He has a purpose and a calling. There are good works that He's planned for us to do. So there's things that we're born with that are natural, God-given abilities that I've always been naturally a bit more organized. That's just a bend that I have in my personality. So that's a natural thing. It could be used for good or could be used for bad. But then I also, as a born-again believer and dwelt with the Holy Spirit, the Spirit provides me spiritual gifts too that I'm able to use. So you have giftings in different capacities. And I think that a lot of times when it comes to serving, people look at areas in the church and they think, I can't really do that, or I don't really have anything to offer. But that's biblically just inaccurate. I mean, everyone has gifts that you've been given, whether natural or spiritual gifts, to serve the kingdom. And you just may not really realize what those are, how they apply, because we look at like more of the broad things of worship. I can't play an instrument. Or I look at hospitality. I'm not good at greeting people. Or I'm not good with kids. And we kind of have these hard lines when in actuality, we really just need to talk to other people and other leaders and say, here's what I'm passionate about. Here's some things I'm good at. Here's some things that I have a strong heart for. Here's some things and let some leaders steer and guide and try to show you areas that maybe God has equipped you to serve.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, not being scared to step out there. You may start in this area and realize, hey, that's not for me. That's not the spiritual gift or the natural talent that I have. It's okay to find that out and to serve in move to a different area of service. Mm-hmm. So I think that's the biggest thing, just not being afraid to take that step, to learn.
Yeah, I was actually just talking with someone who serves in one area, and they're staying there because they feel like, well, there's a need here, but it's not necessarily where their heart is. And I said, it's okay to step down from that. Don't feel obligated because you see a need and you feel like you're going to disappoint someone in leaving, but God might be calling you to go somewhere else that fits what He's equipped you with better. So.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. A couple weeks ago, Preston talked about burnout. So, when navigating how much to serve, because you want to also stay healthy in that you don't want to, I'm going to give this, that. Next thing you know, you're kind of draining all the tank there. But, so why is it important for us to choose who or what we believe in or is the greatest? For example, if you believe that Taylor Swift is the greatest, how would that influence?
I don't think
your
that was
life?
one of the ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, no.
So we see where your head's at.
Yeah. We know who thinks Taylor Swift.
This was from my wife. Yes, it was for me. But no, yeah. So how would that influence like what we choose? We talked about this at community groups sometimes. Like there's things that we listen to, watch, read, whatever it may be, and that influences us. So why is it important for us to choose who or what we believe is the greatest?
I think you just said it. Like what we're choosing to focus on as great influences in how we think and act. So if we're surrounding it, we talked about this in Wednesday nights. We've been talking about fruits of the Spirit and engaging yourself fully in the Lord, listening to the Lord, reading the Lord's word, worshiping the Lord. You have no choice but to be like marinating in Him and of that outpour. So whatever you're marinating in, that sounds really gross, but
I think it's spaghetti.
that's what you're soaking in. So that's what becomes a part of you, and you outpour that.
So Taylor Swift for you.
Yeah.
Right.
Taylor Swift.
This episode will not air.
Oh my goodness.
But and we did start this entire. I'm afraid.
You can.
No, I'm good. I just don't want to hit it.
Oh, you're good.
This might be worse. But we started the whole way series with that idea of like you become what you follow, and that it ties in with this of whatever you think is great is going to be inevitably what you follow and what you devote time to, and whether you're openly admitting it, it's going to be what you become like. So, I think that's why it's important to figure out what you deem great, what's worthy of following, and what do you, in the grand scheme, what do you want to look like? What do you want your life to be like?
Yeah. So if someone wants to serve, where would they go to sign up to serve, or who would they talk to?
Well, I'd say you could talk to any of us, and we would get you connected in the right places. But you could also go to the Liberty Hill app. There's an icon that says, I want to help. And it has a lot of areas on there that kind of lists out things you're interested in, things that you would like to help with. Pick as many of them as you want, and it will shoot it to our staff, and we'll reach out. You can go to, what was the libertyhill.church?
libertyhill.church.
Serve.
Yes.
And it will do the same thing. And if you're just not sure, I think one of the options is something like I'm just not sure. And then again, someone from the staff will connect with you and just kind of feel that out. Say, look, well, again, what are you passionate about? What do you have a heart for? Where do you feel your skills are? Where do you feel your natural giftings, your spiritual abilities are? And try to place in the right spot. And I think I would echo what Amanda said earlier. Like, just because you start in a spot and you feel like it's the right move, if it just doesn't quite settle and you don't feel like that's the right one, that's fine. Like, I've served in numerous spots that I think I ended up not being that good at, didn't feel that strongly about. And then there's also seasons where, I mean, you and I both know, you took my spot on the worship team because there was a season. I'm not upset about it at all. Yeah.
I was getting a little worried here. I'm sorry.
But my season was ending there, and I knew it, and I felt it, and I was forced myself out of it by breaking my wrist. But you stepped into it and have made it everything that it needed to be, because I was at the end of my season, you were at the beginning of yours. So that doesn't mean my doing it was wrong, but that's where I was called to serve for that time, and God wanted me to go someplace else, and I was just stubborn about it.
I was thinking when I stepped on playing guitar, and then I also do this as well. When you have that faith, I think it's somewhere in James where it talks about, through your faith it will produce works, right? So I'm the kind of person that's like, anywhere I can help, I want to do it. I'm all in.
Well, that gets a little bit to your concern for burnout comment earlier too, that you have to be cautious of to make sure you're not just saying yes to everything that seems good, because you can get to a spot of burnout. And there will be seasons, I would say, like that just are a little bit intense, but overall you do need to make sure you're leaving margin in your life to get the rest and have that Sabbath time that you actually need, and to really prioritize things, because what tends to go, say, like with family life and all of those, like, we're called to manage our households well. And that's a qualification for Christian leaders, but we should all manage our households well. And if you're serving so much that you're not managing your household well, and you're quick to quarrel with our children and things like that, then that's a sign that you're stretched a little bit too thin, and you need to find out really where God wants you in this season, and as hard as it is, step out of the others.
Well, do you guys have any last minute tidbits or anything you'd like to share about today?
Join Pivot.
I need help. No, I would think I'd like to add, just because we are so much with everyone's children all the time. Like, it's all the time. But making sure that as you yourself are looking at where you can serve, have those conversations with your kids. Talk to them about, what do you think you're good at? What really interests you? And you can help, because you're going to know your children better than we do. Right. And so you can help them cultivate that heart for service.
Yeah. Just as one final one, I'd like to hear from you guys just what your observations from today from your Pivot kids are.
Like how they viewed today?
How they viewed today, what you saw in them that maybe you didn't see before, and like what makes you excited about, like what you said, encouraging parents to find that spot for their kids. What would be some of the things you saw today that would be reasons for encouraging that?
Well, I know just for me, like, a lot of the kids have already previously been serving in Hilltop, love serving in Hilltop, but seeing that there were a lot that were really interested in, like, the media, the sound, and stuff like that, that's something I would not have thought most of them would have been, super excited about. But talking to them and the adults that were showing them around today, like, there was a lot of excitement there, which I think is great. So
that's what I was going to say. Like, even afterwards, talking a couple of the kids that had come back to get their parents, and just, they looked happy. They looked fulfilled, and I made a comment to Kelly during service when Preston was playing the game of which do you think is the greatest, and it was fun hearing the audience engage back. And I said, that's awesome, because we have a natural desire in us to connect and to make something our own and to become a part of something. And so you can see that with the youth. They're like, oh, I'm a part of this. It's not just something my parents are doing and they drag me along out of bed in the morning. I can have a part too.
Yeah.
What would you say on like that, as far as to encourage parents to help talk to their kids about where to serve or what they might be passionate about?
Well, I would say, like, I was kind of scared, play for the first time, but I think I feel like it's such a good feeling, and I feel like if you just talk to them about what they like and get them out of their comfort zone, once you do it one time, you just want to keep doing it again. I feel like it's a good way to get out of your comfort zone in church, because nobody's going to judge you for anything. If you mess up, they're going to help you about it, and everybody's super nice. So I think you could just talk to them about their hobbies and what they want to serve in and something like that.
Wow. That's deep dive.
That is deep dive.